Okay, welcome to today's coding session. So I believe that today we are getting started on a project. Gradebook. You are a student and you are trying to organise your subjects and grades using Python. Let's explore what we've learned about lists to organise your subjects and scores. So mark the tasks as complete by checking them off. Create some lists. 1. Create a list called subjects and fill it with the classes you are taking: physics, calculus, poetry, and history. Oh, your code below. So subjects, and then we're going to assign to it a list. The first item is physics, calculus, then poetry, and then history. And control enter. Oh. Am I missing something? Save. Usually it gives it a tick automatically. Okay, maybe I have to tick it here because I'm doing the project. And then it looks like we've already got a list called Last Semester Gradebook. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 elements in the list. Subjects with their grades, like Politics 80. So now create a list called grades and fill it with your scores. So we're going to assign to grades 98, 97, 85, and 88. Three, manually, without any methods, create a two-dimensional list to combine subjects and grades. Use the table below as a reference to associated values. Assign the value into a variable called gradebook. Okay, gradebook. We'll assign to gradebook a list, and it's a list of lists. So we have physics, comma, 98, calculus, 97, poetry, 85, history, 88. So I've got the outer square brackets there. Save, and I need to give that a tick. Okay. Print gradebook. Does it look how you expected it would? Okay. Print gradebook. Let's answer that question. Gradebook. Yes, to be honest, yeah, it's a list within a list. We've got that printed. 5. Your grade for your computer science class just came in. You got a perfect score, 100. Use the .append method to add a list with the values of computer science and an associated grade value of 100 to our two-dimensional list of gradebook. So gradebook dot append computer science, comma, okay, so I do want to add a list, so I do want to append a list, so I'm going to put it in square brackets, computer science, comma, 100, Oh no, so it's not a string. Yep, closing square bracket, and I can now print gradebook again, just to verify that we've had that added on. Perfect. Can I put a new line in there? \n? No, you can't do that. What you could do, what can I do this? Put it in \n in speech marks. But you can't just have it next to gradebook. Could I do string plus gradebook? No, you can't concatenate two mixed things. What you can do is string, comma, gradebook, I think. Perfect. So now I've got that gap. Your 6, your grade for visual arts. Tick for that one. Your grade for visual arts just came in. You got a 93. Use append to add visual arts 93 to gradebook. So we can do gradebook dot append, and then we're going to add on in square brackets this visual arts, comma 993. Give that a save. Modify the gradebook. Our instructor just told us they made a mistake grading and are rewarding an extra 5 points for our visual arts class. Access the index of the grade for your visual arts class and modify it to be 5 points greater. To help me out here, I'm just going to print gradebook again. And I can see that we have the last position. So I'm going to use negative indices. So I'm going to say gradebook position -1 should have assigned to it visual arts 98. It used to be 93, now it's got 5 extra points, so it's 98. Will that work? And then let's print it again. Actually, let's just put that line. Let's just use that line. So I want this to not say visual arts 93, but visual arts 98. Can I do that? Perfect. Visual arts 98. So I can give it a tick to number 7. Number 8, you decided to switch from a numerical grade value to a pass-fail option for your poetry class. You can see that we have physics, calculus, poetry. Find the grade value in your gradebook for your poetry class and use the .remove method to delete it. Okay, your wish is my command. Gradebook. I think we'll just have to do normal positive indices, so 0 if first, second. Gradebook 2. Dot remove? No. Gradebook dot remove. No, it's not a string. Poetry. No, the grade value. Okay, so we can do gradebook dot remove. 1 That will give a syntax error. No, so what we want to do is settle upon third item, so 0, 1, 2. Gradebook.remove and the and then 85, just put in 85. It's not a string, yeah. So we kind of use that selector, that kind of visual, look for 85, we're saying. No. Maybe put the index here, gradebook 2, because it's kind of a property of the name of the list, not a property of remove. Try that. Perfect. And now we can see it just says poetry with no associated score. 9. Use the append method to then add a new pass value to the sublist where your poetry class is located. Now what we're going to do is gradebook dot append gradebook 2, so we're still interested in that area, dot append, and we'll add a pass value. Can we do that? Yeah. Oh, and then print, yeah. Yep, so now it says poetry pass, done. So that's 9 done. We did use the append method to add a new pass value. One big gradebook. Okay, so, hold on. You also have your grades from last semester stored in last semester gradebook. So that's what we have up here. Create a new variable called full gradebook. So we've had subjects, grades, gradebook, but not full gradebook. So create a new variable full gradebook that combines both last semester gradebook and gradebook using plus to have one complete gradebook. Print full gradebook to see our completed list. Full gradebook will have assigned to it the combination of last semester gradebook and gradebook, and then we'll print that. Can we do that just like that? Just laying the list bare. Print full gradebook. Control enter. Looks like we can. Again, I might just make that a little bit clearer to see because it's not that whole block at the bottom. So I'm going to put a line break in so I can do \n as the first argument of the print function, and the second argument will just be the name of the list, full gradebook. Okay, so I'm not going to use concatenation because you can't do that. I can't just have a string plus the name of the list. Save, and then that's it. Let's get a code review on this. So let's review your project work. This AI-generated code review offers specific feedback about your code. You can also ask yourself these same questions when reviewing your code on your own. Purpose. Does the code do what it's supposed to do? Your code does successfully create lists for subjects and grades and combines them into a two-dimensional list called Gradebook. It also appends new subjects and grades as required. Task 7 is not correctly implemented. You should modify the grade for visual arts by accessing the index and adding 5 points, rather than replacing the entire entry with a string. So instead of saying Gradebook at position -1 should have assigned to it visual arts, 98, and sort of overwriting the whole thing, they've said go to Gradebook, specifically the first item, the 0th and then first item within the last item, and then use the add equals operator to add 5. So we didn't do task 7 correctly. So task 7 said, our instructor just told us they made a mistake grading and are awarding an extra 5 points for our visual arts class. So they're awarding an extra 5 points for our visual arts class. Access the index of the grade for your visual arts class and modify it to be 5 points greater. So, yeah, we just overwrote it. I think that's here. We appended visual arts 93, and then we just overwrote that to be visual arts 98, and that's a solution. But they wanted us to say be a more precise. Don't just go to Gradebook -1. Go to Gradebook -1 -1, because we want the last item, so I can use that double index and assign to that 98. And yeah. Oh no, not even that. Even that was wrong. Again, that's overwriting it. Again, that's a solution, but we can do it in a way that doesn't require us to know that we're already using. So we can say plus add equals 5. And yeah, that still works. So visual arts, yeah, so visual arts, it's not in there at all. Visual arts is not in there at all. We have visual arts 98 there, but there, oh, yeah. Even though we added visual arts 93, we get visual arts 98 printed. Okay. Oh, spoiler alert. Strictly winner is Chris McCausland. Ensure that the final print statement for full gradebook is formatted correctly. Consider printing it in a more readable format. So I just said print full gradebook, albeit on a new line, but they're saying go even further and actually say full gradebook is, and then print full gradebook. So put full gradebook : which is a good idea, really. So I'm going to put full gradebook. Readability. Is the code easy to understand? Your code is well organised with clear variable names like subjects, grades and gradebook, which makes it easy to understand. But consider adding comments to explain the purpose of each major step, especially when modifying or appending to lists. So you could say, okay, we're going to create a list of subjects. So here I might put hash create a list of subjects. Here I might put create a list of grades. Here I might put create a two-dimensional list. Ensure consistent formatting in your print statements for better readability. So now that if I've had in one print statement full gradebook : then really I should call the other one that uses the gradebook variable updated gradebook. And you can see that does make it easier. You know, now it's kind of got that all clear. Actually, can I just put, if I put a new line at the end, will it print updated gradebook so that we have the term updated gradebook, and then on the next line they actually print it? Yeah, good. So \n there. So print gradebook, we can say gradebook. Oh, and again \n. Good, so that's better. So gradebook is that. Let's talk about performance. Your code efficiently combines the current and last semester's gradebooks using the plus operator. It's a bit strange. So last semester, okay, yeah, semester. I was thinking they were years, so that makes sense. So yeah, different terms, different subjects. I suppose that could be the case. You do Latin in last term. And you didn't do Latin this term. Your code efficiently combines the current and last semester's gradebooks using the plus operator here. But instead of using remove and append for changing the poetry grade to pass, consider directly assigning the new value for better performance. So I have a line where I do gradebook to .remove 85, and then another line where it's gradebook to .append pass. But instead, I could have a line which just, again, uses that precision of an index and then an index. Gradebook 2, 1, assigned to that pass. So it's a bit tedious to sort of remove it and then add it, but that was what the steps instructed me to do. So now I'm being told I should overwrite. A little bit confusing, but I suppose the instructions were meant to get us to sort of go through and get used to all the things we have in our pocket, all the tools. So I'm going to change that. So you see both these lines become redundant. So I'm going to comment out these lines. All I need to do is add a hash. So instead of those two lines, I can just say gradebook 2, 1, so the third thing along, 2 means the third thing along, and then 1 will have assigned to it pass. And so this is to make it so that poetry is pass. Yeah, that works. So poetry pass, poetry pass. Ensure that list modifications are done in place to avoid unnecessary operations, such as replacing the entire list entry with a string. So we had a line which said gradebook and then -1, and we assigned to it Visual Arts 98, but instead you can they're saying try to go inside. I was being a bit lazy just replacing the entire list, Visual Arts 98. They're saying try to be a bit more precise in your targeting. Actually say, okay, go to the list and specifically the first element of that. So where is that? Oh, I think I got rid of that because yeah, that's fine. Okay, done. Project complete. You earn 25 XP each toward your skills. We have the computer science skill on the go and the Python skill. Python list methods. Count. A list method to count the number of occurrences of an element in a list. We have .insert. A list method to insert an element into a specific index of a list. .pop. A list method to remove an element from a specific index or from the end of a list. To remove an element from a specific index or from the end of a list. Okay, pop. Why both a specific index or the end of a list? Bit of a strange combination of things you can do with it. Range, that's a built-in Python function to create a sequence of integers. Len, a built-in Python function to get the length of a list. We have .sort and .sorted. A method and a built-in function to sort a list. So working with lists. Now that we know how to create and access list data, we can start to explore additional ways of working with lists. In this lesson, you'll learn how to add and remove items from a list using a specific index, create lists with continuous values, get the length of a list, select portions of a list, this is called slicing, and count the number of times that an element appears in a list, and sort a list of items. Quick note, in some of the exercises we'll be using built-in functions in Python. If you haven't yet explored this concept of a function, it may look a bit new. Below we compare it to the method syntax we learned in the earlier lesson. Here is a preview. List.method, and then we'll feed in the word input. And this is a general syntax, so we're not inputting a string input, we're making the point kind of that in the rounded brackets the input goes there, yeah? And we're saying if we have a dot, then the word after the dot is the method. Okay, this is a general sort of notation. So we'll have list and then dot and then whatever method you want. So it could be .count, .insert, .pop, .range, and so on. And then with built-in functions, it's the same, except we don't do functions on an object, on a list. They're just there with their input. You'd still feed in input, it's a function. Functions have an input and an output. Take a second to preview some of the things we will be learning by examining the graphic of common list methods and built-in functions. Adding by index, insert. The Python list method .insert allows us to add an element to a specific index in a list. The dot insert method takes in two inputs. One, the index you want to insert into, and two, the element you want to insert at the specified index. So two things go in the rounded brackets. Takes two inputs, yeah. The dot insert method will handle shifting over elements and can be used with negative indices. What does that mean? Can handle shifting over elements. To see it in action, let's imagine we have a list representing a line at a store. So store line has assigned to it Carla, Maxim, Martin, and Isabella. Maxim saved a spot for his friend Vikor, and we need to adjust the list to add him into the line right behind Maxim. For this example, we can assume that Carla is the front of the line and the rest of the elements are behind her. Here is how we would use the dot insert method to insert Vikor. We would say store line dot insert 2, Vikor, and then print store line, and we'd now have it be the case that the position 2, not 0, not the 0 for first position, but position 2 is Vikor. So this is saying not go behind position 2 or in front of position 2, it's make position 2 Vikor. Some important things to note. 1. The order and number of the inputs is important. The dot insert method expects two inputs. The first being a numerical index, followed by any value as the second input. 2. When we insert an element into a list, all elements from the specified index and up to the last index are shifted one index to the right. Right? So that makes sense. All elements from this one you talked about, the second position, and up to the last one are going to be changed now. Vikor is now number 2, the second element. So the second element is no longer Martin, and Isabella's position will have shifted as well, her index. This does not apply to inserting an element to the very end of a list, as it will simply add an additional index and no other elements will need to shift. So let's practice. So it's called dot insert. Dot insert. One, we are helping out a popular grocery store called Geo's Produce. Every week the store has to choose the order in which it displays some of its popular items on sale in the front window to attract customers. Geo, the store owner, likes to store the items for the display in a list. Check out the current display list in our code editor and click Run to print out the list. So it says front display list, and we have assigned to it mango, filet mignon, chocolate milk. And then we have a line which says print, and then the name of the list, print front display list. So let's click Run, and we have the list printed. Geo found out some great news. Pineapple is back in stock. Geo would like to put pineapple in the front of the list, so it is the first item customers see in the display window. Use dot insert to add pineapple to the front of the list, and print the resulting list to see the change. So I'm going to put front display list, so we're going to use a method, so I need to say the object on which the method is working. So front display list dot insert, and I need to say, well, I want you to make the 0th position be equal to pineapple. So I type in pineapple. So 0, pineapple. And now I'm going to print front display list. And I'm going to call it post pineapple update. Or I'm going to print a string that says post pineapple update. And it will be on a new line. And not Control S, Control Enter, please. There we go. And can we please make that on a new line as well? Okay, so now it says pineapple, mango, filet mignon, and chocolate milk. Perfect. And that's it. next, which is alt next, alt comma. Removing by index, pop. Just as we learn to insert elements at specific indices, Python gives us a method to remove elements at a specific index using a method called .pop. The .pop method takes an optional single input, and it is the index for the element you want to remove. To see it in action, let's consider a list called CS Topics that stores a collection of topics one might study in a computer science program. So CS Topics has assigned to it Python, data structures, balloon making, note the spelling of balloon, LLOO, algorithms, clowns 101. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 elements in that list. 2 of these topics don't look like they belong. Remember, it's called computer science topics. Let's see how we remove them using .pop. First, let's remove clowns 101. So we say we're going to assign to removed element. This is a new variable name we're introducing, and we're just going to assign to it with the work we've done. And the work we're going to do is we're going to do cstopics.pop. And you can see there's nothing in the rounded brackets there. And that's because, and you might think, well, why? Surely we need to specify, we need to use that input field to specify what we want to remove. However, it just defaults to removing the last item in the list if you don't put anything in there. So if we do print CS topics, and then that list should be updated, should be popped. Sorry, no. CS topics won't be popped, but removed element will be CS topics that's popped. Remember, we did that work and put it into this new variable name, removed element. So let's do it. Oh no, okay, so that would output this, and now we don't have clown. What? It said, let's remove clowns 101. And then it said it would output this list. Oh, okay. So look, here's the list. Clowns 101 is outside the square brackets. So we have removed it from the list. Maybe that's what it does. It puts the thing it removed on the next line. So notice 2 things about this example. The method can be called without a specific index. Using .pop without an index will remove whatever the last element of the list is. In our case, clowns 101 gets removed. .pop is unique in that it will return the value that was removed. If we wanted to know what element was deleted, simply assign a variable to the call of the .pop method. In this case, we assigned it to removed element. Lastly, let's remove balloon making. cstopics.pop with an argument with an input of 2, meaning we're interested in the second position, not the 0 or the first. And then we can print CS topics. And now you can see balloon making is not present. Notice 2 things about this example. The method can be called with an optional specific index to remove. In our case, the index 2 removes the value of balloon making. And we don't have to save the removed value to any variable if we don't care to use it later. You see, in this case we've done cstopics.pop, and we didn't assign that to a sort of new, updated, different variable name. We're just going to print cstopics, because that has been changed. If we don't have to sort of contain every method within a variable, or contain the results of methods on objects in a variable. Quick note, So passing in an index that does not exist or calling .pop on an empty list, that will result in something called an index error. Right. Let's apply what we learned about the .pop method. So 1, we have decided to pursue the study of data science in addition to our computer science coursework. We signed up for an online school that would help us become proficient. Check out the current list of topics we will be studying in our code editor. Click Run to print out the list. So we have machine learning, SQL, pandas, algorithms, statistics, and Python 3. It looks like we have an overlap with our computer science curriculum for the topic of Python 3. Let's remove the topic from the list of data science topics using our newly learned .pop method. Print data science topics to see your result. Did you call the .pop method with no input in between the parentheses? Or the parenthesis? No, I didn't. I put -2 in the parentheses. Oh, okay. Hold on. Oh, okay, I'm just going to refresh that. So we have that. We need to remove, so we click Run, then we need to remove Python 3. Okay, so we need to remove the last element. So I'm going to do data science topics .pop and remove -1. And then we should be able to print. So Control C, Control V, run, and now you can see it just says machine learning, SQL, pandas, algorithms, and statistics. What? I've removed Python 3. It just says machine learning, SQL, pandas, algorithms, and statistics. What? Okay, right. I'll leave it blank then. There you go. Okay. Looks like there is overlap on the algorithms topic as well. Let's use .pop to remove that. Okay, I'll kind of do this over here. So I'll do data science topics .pop and then feed in -3 and then print the result of that. Print data science topics. There we go. So our pandas has been removed. Now what? Oh, it doesn't like it when I... Oh, okay, shall I use positive then? 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, is that what you want? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay, next. Alt, next. Okay, new topic. Perhaps the last one. Consecutive lists. Range. Range. Often we want to create a list of consecutive numbers in our programs. For example, suppose we want consecutive numbers following one another. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, 1, 2, 4 is not a consecutive list because there's a gap. For example, Suppose we want a list containing the numbers 0 through 9. And the word through means inclusive, so 0 through 9. 0 to 9, including 0, including 9. Typing out all those numbers takes time, and the more numbers we type, the more likely it is that we have a typo that can cause an error. Python gives us an easy way of creating these types of lists using a built-in function called range. The function range takes a single input and generates numbers starting at 0 and ending at the number before the input. So if we want the numbers from 0 through 9, we use range 10. So we actually mention 10. But I call this the unwanted upper. So what we mention is the unwanted upper, the upper bound where the bound is not included. If I say range 10, it means 7, 8, 9 and not 10. So we could say range 10 and we'll lock that into a variable called myRange. So we'll use the assignment operator. And then if I print myRange, range just spits out lists. Okay, so you don't have to say make it a list, it just spits out lists. It knows it deals in lists. So, or maybe not. Okay, it would output range 0, 10. Notice something different. The range function is unique in that it creates a range object. There we go. It is not a typical list like the ones we have been working with. In order to use this object as a list, we have to first convert it using another built-in function called the list function. The list function takes in a single input for the object you want to convert. We use the list function on our range object like this. So this thing is called a range object. The idea is this is a way of specifying a range. You probably have seen people write 0-10, which means 0 to 10. But here we write, you can also say 0, 10, meaning 0 to 10. So if we do print the list function of myRange, then we would get a list coming out. So let's try out using range. We've already got a preloaded console here, so it says number list has assigned to it range of 3. And we've already got that being printed, and we're printing the listifying of that, the list function. So if I click run, there we go, we get a list. Modify number list so that it is a range containing numbers starting at 0 and up to, but not including, 9. So what is it, 0, 9? Yeah. 2. Create a range called 0 to 7 with the numbers 0 through 7, meaning including 7. So I'm going to have to mention 8, aren't I? So 0 to 7 has assigned to it range, and it does say create a range, so I don't have to convert this to a list, and I'm going to put 0, 8. And it wants me to print it, so print 0 to 7. Perfect. Oh, print the result in list form. Okay, so I can just apply the function list to that variable 0 to 7. The power of range. By default, range creates a list starting at 0. However, if we call range with 2 inputs, we can create a list that starts at a different number. For example, range and then 2, 9 would generate numbers starting at 2 and ending at 8. And this is what really gets me. You might think that because we've mentioned 2 in the input, 2 doesn't get included. The same way that if we mention 9, 9 doesn't get included, the unwanted upper that we talked about. But it doesn't work like that. In fact, if you mention the lower range, or if you mention a lower range, it is included. And that's why it really is the unwanted upper The lower we take. It's the wanted lower, but it's only the unwanted upper. It's a bit, so there's a kind of asymmetry between the lower and upper range. So we could say range 2, 9, assign it to my list, listify that and print it, and we'd get a list which goes from 0 to 2, including 2, up to just before 9, the unwanted upper 8. Yep, there we go, 2 to 8, 2 through 8. If we use a third input, we can create a list that skips numbers. For example, range 292 will give us a list where each number is 2 greater than the previous number. So if we say my range 2 will have assigned to it range 2, 9, 2, we'd get something like this coming out. 2, 4, 6, 8. And the idea is it's that each number kind of stands for 2 numbers. So 2 counts for 2 and 3, 4 counts for 4 and 5, so there's no 5 in the list. 6 counts for 6 and 7, that's how I think about it. It's not actually the case that there are 2 numbers between each element, right? There's only the number 3 between 2 and 4, isn't there? So it's important to just have a clear conception of what that third input is doing. It's saying from 2 up to 9, 9 being my unwanted upper, and have each element count for 2. That's how I think of it. I think that's slightly clearer. We can skip as many numbers as we want. For example, we'll start at 1 and skip in increments of 10 between each number until we get to 99. So we could say from 1, our wanted lower, up to 99, and each number will stand for 10. So of course, you can, just by me saying that, that helps you to think each element will stand for 10. So you can now think, well, will we have 11 in the output? We will. Will we have 10 in the output? We won't, because 10 kind of is subsumed with under 1 if 1 counts for 1 up to 10. If 1 counts for the first 10 numbers, then we don't actually have 10 in the output, and you can see that's right. There's no 10, even though we've said this. We want it to be like every 10. You might think, well, surely it'll be 1, 10, 20. Well, no, because this stands for 1 to 10 inclusive. This stands for 11 to 20 inclusive. Our list stops at 91 because the next number in the sequence would be 101, which is greater than or equal to 100, which is our unwanted upper here. Let's experiment with our additional range inputs. So the fact that you can put these steps in. 1. Modify the range function that created the range 5, 3, such that it starts at 5, has a difference of 3 between each item, and ends before 15. So we've already got a range function here, and it's packaging it up into this variable called range 5, 3. We want it to start at 5. Well, it already does. It has a difference of 3 between each item. Now think about this. This 2 means that every element in the list counts for 2. So we'll have 1, 3, 5. Now if we have 1, 3, 5 and so on, is it the case that there's a difference of 3 between each item? Put it this way, if the elements were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5s, just normal counting, would it be true that there is a difference of 1 between each element? If someone came along and said, there's a difference of 1 between each element in the list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, would you say true or would you say false? Personally, I would say true. Okay, so now we just work from that. So that means that if we have 1, 3, 5, there must be a difference of 2. And that means we don't have a difference of 3 between each item here. The 2 here means that each element stands for 2 numbers, so it becomes 1, 3, 5. But with 1, 3, 5, there's not a difference of 3 between each item, and we establish that using our intuition that when we have 1, 2, 3, there's a difference of 1. We don't want to say there's a difference of 0 because it just doesn't feel right. If there was a difference of 0, then they should be identical, like 1, 1, 1, 1. That's a difference of 0. So if we want to say with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's a difference of 1 between each element, then we want to say that with 1, 3, 5, 7, there's a difference of 2. And so we want a difference of 3 between each element. And to achieve that, we need there to be 2 elements in between each element. And to get that, we need each element to stand for 3 elements. So I'm going to change that to 3. Does that make sense? You know, if we had 1, 3, 5, 7, if we had that sequence, it's true, there's one element between each element, isn't there? But that's like a different notion. That's not the difference between each one. That's the gap, we might say. This will generate a sequence which is 1, 4, 7. 1, 4, 7, 10. Okay. So again, I'm just pointing out that there are actually 2 elements between each element here, not 3. Even though I'm putting 3 here, it's not the case that we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're not counting 3 silent numbers between each one just because we've put a 3 here. There are 2 elements between each element because we've put a 3 here. And we want it to end before 15. Well, it will with 15 here. I hope this is right. So if I do print the list of range 5, 3. I hope this is what they mean in the question. No. Okay. Oh, close that error. Phew, syntax error. And we get the tick. Good. So that's what we want. 5, 8, 11, 14. Create a range called range diff 5 that starts at 0, has a difference of 5 between each item, and ends before 40. So again, this confusing notion has a difference of 5 between each item. That means, so what I struggle with is translating the notion of having a difference between items and the notion of how many items each item stands for. So remember, if we want a difference of 3 between each item, we put a 3. It's not but that is nothing to do with, well, it is something to do, but it's not identical to how many elements there are between an item. But look, having a difference of 3 means we put 3. So that, I suppose it is quite simple in that sense. So if we say range diff 5, we want it to start at 0, so we get that wanted upper. It's only the alliterative one. Unwanted upper. Makes sense, doesn't it? We want it to end before 40, so I'll use 40 as my unwanted upper. And a difference of 5, so I put 5. And again, that means that each element will stand for 5. So 1 will count for 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. So we won't actually get 5 in the output. 6 will be there, but 6 will count for 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10. Okay. So stand for 5 elements, that means a gap of 4 elements between each one. And let's print it. Range diff 5. Control Enter. Perfect. And we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much.